Hi, I'm Toby. I run Handcraft Pictures, a wedding filmmaking company based in Greenwich in London. I shoot weddings all over the world, as well as here in the UK. And I now also offer a mentorship program for people looking to get into wedding filmmaking or filmmaking in general. And I thought as a way of introducing that, I would put together a video of some of the top questions I've had from followers on YouTube and on Instagram and compile it into a video. But first, here's some clips of some weddings I've filmed. Obviously some lovely clips there from some beautiful weddings, but actually my favourite clip from a wedding that I filmed by accident is this one of me. Should we look at it again? Okay, enough of that. On to the questions. The first one, sort of the inevitable one, is on gear. What are your must-carry lenses, audio gear and cameras? Lenses, I film the whole day on prime lenses, and they are primarily 35mm and 85mm. Just gives me two great focal lengths. I like to letterbox all my films, so 35 just gives me a nice width in that letterbox, and 85 is a perfect portrait lens. It's good for those close-ups, dancing footage, and that is pretty much it. I do have a couple of other lenses. I have a 135 prime, which I sometimes use when I'm at the back of a church or further away in the speeches. As for audio gear, I pretty much just use these Tascam DR10s. I have a few of these. They're really small, the batteries last ages, internal recording, so no worrying about signals from receivers and things. And I just clip these onto whoever's speaking. I'm wearing one now, and they've got a great tone to them, love them. And the question I get asked the most about gear is which cameras do I use? And I never really see the point in it because there are so many different types of camera. They all have different strengths and weaknesses. There is no perfect camera. I currently use the Sony A7 IIIs. I really like Sony cameras. I've used them for years, from my Sony A7S to the A7S II. They work well in low light, they're small, they're stills cameras. Guests don't really pay attention to you, just look like a photographer. I've got used to the colours on them, I can colour the footage. So yeah, that's my choice, but like I say, there are various negatives to them, like with any camera, so it just all comes down to personal preference. Okay, question 2, how did you get your first clients? Now, how I got my first clients isn't very useful anymore. I've been doing this for 10 years. My first clients came from an advert in a newspaper, a local advert. So yeah, that's not the way to really do it nowadays. But I think the key thing is to have something to show people. You need some content. So if you can get out there and film a wedding for a family or a friend, that's just great, just to have something that you can put up and you can show people. I had to convince my first clients off the back of some footage I'd taken on holiday and some nice shots of some churches and things I filmed. They could see I could use a camera and edit, but I didn't have much more to show them than that. I also did it very cheaply, which is probably key at first, until you've got something to prove what you can do. And then build on that, build your style, build your brand from that, and slowly build your prices. Don't expect to be making a living from this overnight. I think nowadays it's easy to look at other people's websites and prices and think, I need to be doing that. But when I started doing this, I didn't know what this should cost. I just had to pick a number out of the air that I thought it was worth. And over 10 years, I've got myself to where I am now, making a living out of this job and going all over the world. And it's great. But yeah, just don't expect to be doing that within like your first year, basically. Question 3, how much time to shoot a wedding? If it's a one-day wedding in the UK, I'd say normally around 10 hours. I normally get there a few hours before the ceremony to get some shots with the bride. And I'm normally there until a little after the first dance. But overseas weddings, it just depends. Some people have pre-wedding dinners, or they might want to do something the day before the wedding or the day after the wedding. Elopements are very much just case by case dependent. It might be a day, it might be a couple of days of filming with them to produce a film. So it really depends. But if you're just filming a wedding day, yeah, around 10 hours is a good number. Question 4, how to get consistent wedding work. I think the best answer to that is in the question, and it's consistency. Couples need to know what they're getting from you. I think you need to have a consistent style to your work, the way you edit, the sort of music you use. Not all your films have to be identical, but there has to be something about them that couples know, oh, this is what you're offering, you're doing that type of film. And that should permeate through all of your branding, from your logo to the copy on your website, to the pictures you share on Instagram. Everything should suggest a certain style. This is what I am offering to you, this is my USP. A lot of people make the mistake that they might do very elegant work in churches, but their website suggests they're doing fun beach weddings or whatever. You have to decide what sort of work it is you want and only show that work. Even if you do other work, even if at the beginning you're having to do whatever you can, just drive home a message in everything you do, and that will help you carve out your niche in the industry. Question 5, do you ever mic up the bride? Short answer, no, I never mic up the bride. Even if I had a microphone that wouldn't look ugly attached to the bride's dress, I'm too worried about damaging a dress to do that. There are other ways to get good audio. You can clip a mic onto the mic that they're speaking into. You can put a recorder on the table in front of her. Know that she's making a speech and be prepared for it, but in my opinion, I wouldn't put a mic on her. Other people might, I'm just too paranoid about causing any damage. Question 6, what is your colour grading process? I think that's a big topic, and it's not something I'm going to go into in great detail in this video. Basic answer is I always use the same picture profile on my cameras. I created a LUT in Lightroom based on that picture profile. I have that LUT on a monitor, external monitor that I use when I'm filming, so I can get a general idea of what it will look like. But then I colour correct all my footage during the editing process as well. I add grain to my films and a bunch of other stuff. But yeah, that's the basic sort of answer to what is probably a question that could take a whole video. Question 7, how to stay creative during the wedding season. That's a good question, because it is true that it's a lot easier to be creative at the start of the year. You've got new ideas, a lot of energy, things you want to try out that you've thought of during the quiet period. But I think the answer to that is just keep coming up with new things, even if it's just one idea, one angle, one different lens, something you can try at a wedding, even if it's just one thing you do on the day that just keeps that creativity flowing. The flip side of that is, as long as you have a strong style and you know that the couples have bought into that, the couple are going to be happy. Not every wedding you film has to be a unique masterpiece. The couple are going to be happy as long as you produce good work. That said, I do always like my films to tell a different story, but that isn't hard because it's informed by the couple about the type of day that they have, about the stories they choose to tell on the day, about the sort of music they have at their wedding. I allow that to drive my creativity in a certain direction. Question 8, do you find it better to work with others or do you work alone? If I can work with someone else, it's always great. It's always useful to have a second angle during ceremony and speeches. It's always good to have someone that can maybe shoot a safety shot and I can try something a bit more creative, say during confetti shots or something like that. But more and more when I work overseas, it's just not practical to always have someone else with me to fly someone else over just for that second angle. So I have from the very beginning worked alone as much as I can, and It means it's informed the way I film, it's informed the sort of shots I go for. I know what's important and what's not important. And yeah, I think if you can learn to work alone, it's always great, because when you bring in a second shooter, that just opens up something new to you rather than it being something you need. Question 9, biggest shooting/editing trick to capture emotion. Now, I think there isn't really a trick on the day to capturing emotion. I think it depends on the sort of clients you get. My films are quite sort of emotional, and I think I attract a certain type of client. So often the readings they choose or the things they choose to say during the speeches are quite emotional, and that helps me. But I think during the editing process there are things you can do, and I think the key thing is music. The music that you choose to use in the film will inform people of the sort of emotions that you're expecting them to feel when they watch the film. And I think a lot of people make the mistake that they have a certain type of music they like to use in their films, and they force that even if it doesn't fit the story that's unfolding in the visuals. We're used to it from movies that the music will inform us about how to feel about the visuals in front of us. So if you have a piece of music that peaks at a certain point, but your footage or narrative isn't peaking at that point, people are just left confused. You have to make sure that the two things are in line, that the narrative of the film and the music in the film follow the same arc.
Growth and freedom, in the sense that dancers are free, barely touching as they pass, but partners in the same pattern.
Question 10. How do I find out more about your mentorship program? Okay, maybe I wrote that question, but if you are interested in the mentorship program, you can find a link in the description below that will give you all the information you need. If you'd like me to make another one of these Q&A videos, then feel free to leave me some questions in the comments or send me a message. Maybe just don't make it, what camera do you use? Other than that, I'm happy to make another one of these videos at some point. Good luck with all your filmmaking, and let's end on this.